Welcome back, everyone. Writing with Authors has returned, and we have a great guest today streaming in from California. My name is Vincent A. Lanci, and I've had the great privilege of hosting this show for the last 65, 70 episodes. And now we are back with someone who, like myself, has this middle grade books, this mid-age book for kids. She's got a book that's just in the pre-sale stage as we record this right now, getting ready to launch. It is called the Ryder Roo Adventure Series, The Big Move. Now, Jess, you're saying this is the start of a series?
That's right. So this will be a multi-book series. We're thinking so far we have about 4 books mapped out for it. And this is the first one to kind of introduce us to Ryder.
That's exciting. How long has this book, been in the works?
So funny because a little bit of backstory, I've been writing books about my kiddos for years now. They're 7 and 8, really close in age. But my son had a dream last year about this frog, and it kind of evolved. He asked me to write a story about it, and it turned into kind of a big story. So about a year or so now.
I love it. I know there's always a lot of work that goes in behind the scenes before we actually get started. Did you always want to become a published author, or is this not your first book? Let me learn more.
Yeah, this is actually my first published book. I've written several over the last couple of years, really inspired by my kids. So haven't always wanted to be an author. I've been in the arts for a long time. So photography, did some like antique refurbishing, home styling, kind of did the influencer route with that type of stuff for a minute. And now this is my new passion, turning what I've done for the last almost a decade
I'd
into.
love to ask you some advice here. You mentioned you had a few projects you never found the finish line with. Now you have found the finish line. You got this book published. What is some advice you can share from your personal experiences to those out there who also can't seem to find a way just to finish the book?
Yeah, I think really having the passion and drive is number one. Like if you aren't loving what you're doing, it's going to feel like a ton of work because it is a ton of work. So finding something that you truly love and you're like fully behind, I think is like one. And then the other one I would say is to map out a plan and set yourself a timeline and start working towards it and chipping away. And don't be afraid to ask others questions who've been successful.
I love that bit of advice right there, asking others who have been there before, who have done it, something that was hard for me as well at first, just in entrepreneurship, let alone writing. There can be a book on the same topic. There are probably thousands of books on a similar topic. Someone who's found the way to just finish. I've learned that people would love to give you advice most of the time, but they may not be in the position to always buy something. And that's
Right.
something I learned through whether it's coaching or books. But if you want to just seek advice, I know for me, if someone asks, I'm always happy to answer that. And that's one of the main reasons I love doing the seminars with HCC. I've been doing the how to become an author now with them, and just connecting with folks always gets my brain rolling, always gets the balls going again, and just gets me thinking of new ideas to write with. When you connect with other writers, I think you always get some inspiration, as I have already today. We talked about now finding ways to finish the book. What other advice do you have for our authors out here, our aspiring writers out here who are on the book journey?
I'd say find a community. So very much in the same vein like we just talked about, find a community that will help push you and drive you. You're going to hit roadblocks, but there's so many ways to teach yourself. So using YouTube and things like that, because the publishing process is long, especially if you're an indie author. And then don't be afraid to be told no. That's gonna happen for sure. Like I always remind myself about the JK Rowling, like nowhere near in her category, not trying to say that, but that is a reminder to me that she was told no 30 times plus with the Harry Potter series. So don't feel bad. Like you're gonna find your niche, you're gonna find the right reader group, keep looking, find a community.
Another great part right there. Did you go down the publishing company route, or did you self-publish?
I self-published after doing tons and tons of research, reaching out. There were a lot of folks that were interested, but it was nothing that felt aligned with what I believe in and the timeline, because it can be years before your book can come out when you go the traditional publishing route. And so,
I'd like to one day do a series of some sort with a publishing company, maybe. But similar to you, I did my research and found that for me, at least, self-publishing was the easier route, the safer route. You have more control. where I know if you give your book to a publishing company, they have the ability to change some things, delay it, like you said, years to come. And I know I want my book out when it's done. I want to get into the world. You give me such a great episode and our community. Thank you so much. Has book 2 in this series started production yet, or are you waiting for this book to officially be released?
No, we're almost done with book 2. It's such a fun story. So do you mind if I tell you quickly a bit about
Please.
it?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So Ryder Roo is a kiddo who just graduated 5th grade, lives in California, big city, grew up here, and
Love
it's
it.
like slammed with, hey, we're moving out to the country. And so it's a big shocker. They're moving to another state. He's got an older teen brother who's a pain in the butt. And so they move out to a totally new experience. And Ryder's an adventurous kid with a massive imagination. And so he creates this like over the top big imagery as he's kind of thinking through his little missions and goals for the day. But he meets a frog that drives him nuts. And so the point of book 1 is to get acclimated to his new town, his new home, and then this tormentor frog that he tries to catch. And that becomes his mission. And it's really fun story. It evolves. I won't give it away, but it's super, super fun and funny. A lot of mischief. And then in book 2, it's called the Ryder Roo Adventure Series, The New School Blues. So summer's over, and now he's meeting this like totally new group of folks in middle school.
I'm certainly excited as someone who is in the kids field, does go to schools with my books. I see a big future for this series, and I look forward to staying in touch so I can bring you back on when book 2 is getting released. The show is at Writing with Authors or at Vincent A. Lanci, like this YouTube channel. I'm getting ready for this book to come out. That's July 7th, authorjess.com. And thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It was a great time.
Yes, it was. It was a great chat. And everyone out there, we'll see you next week on Writing with Authors.